Hello there, I am the Amateur Enthusiast and welcome to my channel and my very first ever YouTube video. Although this is not the first time I'm recording it, this is maybe attempt number 7. The last time actually turned out really well, but I'd selected the wrong audio input, so it was completely silent. So there's my fun for today. So I've actually got a little piece of paper down here as a little reminder of the things I want to talk about in this video. So if you see me looking down every now and then, it's just because my brain stopped working and I need a reminder. So this little video is going to basically be an introduction to my channel and its purpose. Essentially, this is not going to be a standard YouTube video where, a YouTube channel rather, where typically you'll see if people want to be successful on the platform, they will focus in on a particular type of content or a particular style. And that's great for them, but my motivation isn't to just try and make a successful channel as possible. I mean, if it gets a following and people enjoy what they watch, brilliant, that's actually really cool, but it's not the primary reason for me making this. So I'm not going to be just singling down on a single type of content. I'm not going to be making multiple channels to go into each interest that I have and I'll be uploading. It's going to be a very generic, robust channel. I'm hearing that word a lot lately. It's starting to become part of my vocabulary. So what it's actually going to be for is there's a lot of things that I've gained an interest in, or I've had an interest in for a long time. And I'm starting to push more and more towards actually getting started in these interests. And it's really just to show my progression from being an absolute noob and amateur, hence the name, but stuff that I'm really interested in and enthusiastic about, to seeing how much I actually improve over time, if at all. I'm hoping I do, but you never know. Personal aptitude and all that. But also it's to help people who are interested in the same thing. Maybe they can learn through my videos and my mistakes and also the things that I am successful with, and kind of just share that journey with them if they are interested in it themselves and follow along. It's also to kind of encourage people that tend to be afraid of failing. It's a big thing I've noticed with people, that they want to do things and they're interested in things and they like the idea of things, but they're too afraid to try because they think they're going to fail at it. And you know what? Large percentage of the time, the first time you do something, you're not going to succeed or not be as successful as people that are proficient at it. That's just a fact of life. It doesn't matter what your aptitude is, what your natural ability is. You're never going to be as good starting out as people that are experienced and knowledgeable about something. I mean, you can prepare yourself as much as possible, get as much studying, research, so you can research the situation as much as possible. But it's still not going to be the same as actually getting hands-on and doing what you want to do. But at the same time, you stick at it, you enjoy it more, you improve, and this is how we get good at anything. It's through repetition, through practice, through learning. So you shouldn't be deterred just because you're like, oh, if I do it, I'll be crap. It doesn't matter. If there could be things out there that are your actual true calling, or it could be the most wonderful hobby you could ever have for yourself, but until you try it and start doing it, you're never going to find it. And I know a lot of people, some family members even, that they're miserable because they don't really do anything. They've got their job, which is great, and they're good at that. But then beyond that, they just kind of mill around and they just kind of exist. They don't have a life. Even though some of them are very social, vibrant people, they're just drifting because they're not prepared to try anything. They're just, they don't want to put themselves out there. And in my opinion, the biggest way you can fail at something, the only way you really are guaranteed to be a failure at something is to never try. Because if you never try something, you definitely won't ever do it correctly, because you don't do it at all. So if you're afraid of failing and that's stopping you from doing something, you're already failing. So, you know, that might sound negative, but take it as a positive. You know, if you're already at the worst you can possibly be, the only way is up. So even if you try something and it's an absolute abysmal catastrophe, it's still better than not doing it, assuming nobody gets hurt. Don't put yourself at risk. But you know, the only way really is up. And that's kind of what I want to show, because I guarantee a lot of the videos I post are going to be showing me being a complete idiot and a complete novice at some of the things I'm interested in and failing. And I'm completely fine with that, because I'd rather people saw that and saw that it's okay to not do things perfect, and you know, that's how we learn and improve. So because my brain stopped working, I'm going to check my little list. Yeah, so a lot of these things that I'm interested in, I already watch YouTubers. So one of these interests is technology and PC hardware. This has come about from, I've always been into video games. I've been playing them since I was 3 years old. But I've never really been a PC gamer because I've just never had access to them. The first time I got access to an actual PC that was my own, I was already 15, 16, and I was well ingrained in the console life, so I had no interest in switching over to the PC world. You know, I just kind of used it as a workstation, but again, it was a very limited amount. So I never had a job that involved using computers all that much. But where I'm working now, I do have to use my PC for quite a bit of work, and it's the first time I've actually used a fairly high-end machine, and I'm also looking after a few high-end machines for the nature of my work. So obviously I've had to educate myself as much as I can about PC hardware and about technology and how it all works, and why certain components are better than others. And for that I've been watching people like Jay's 2 Cents, Kyle from Bitwit, Paul's Hardware. I've also been watching a guy named Review Tech USA. Well, his name's actually Rich. But I've been watching him for probably 7 or 8 years, but this is because he also does gaming content. So there's kind of an overlap there. There's also Steve from Gamers Nexus. You know, and that's kind of where my interest in technologies come from. And one of the first sets of videos I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building my own personal, I wouldn't say high-end, but a gaming spec PC that I'm going to be using for work as well. And underneath this Union flag is actually a lot of the components that are going to be in that. Some of them I still haven't purchased because I'm buying it a piece at a time, because I am not that well off that I can just buy all the components for a decent PC at the minute. So there's going to be a few videos based on the components I've chosen and why and what each one does, and kind of share the knowledge that I'm starting to pick up, mostly from watching these guys that I've mentioned and my own little research. And another aspect of things I'm interested in, I've mentioned video games. I may do some parts on video games that I find interesting, maybe some let's plays, maybe some commentary videos. I'm in two minds about that at the moment, but you know, I've been watching guys like Angry Joe, who was actually the very first YouTuber I subscribed to, and people like Mr. Happy, who's very specific to a game that I actually like to watch. I've seen a couple of let's players like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. I don't really bother with PewDiePie. Nothing against the guy, I've just never really clicked with him. And people like that. And one big part of the channel though is going to be what people call makers. These are people that, well, basically make things, that create things, DIYers, that kind of stuff. So one of them, a guy by the name of SW Dweeb, he's actually doing an open challenge right now for anybody that's on YouTube to design and make their own bottle opener. I'll talk more about that in a second. So again, the main guys that I watch for that, like I said, there's SW Dweeb, there's Paul's Garage or Garage, depending on where you're from. There's Old Foundry Man, and there's Veggie Guy. These guys are all kind of all about metal casting and the like. I mean, they do other stuff, but that tends to be their primary focus. And then there's also a couple of blacksmiths that I watch. So there's Alex Steele, and then there's Essential Craftsman, who does a lot of stuff, not just blacksmithing, but he's got a lot of knowledge there too. Then there are also the 3D printing guys. So we've got guys like 3D Printing Nerd, Maker's Muse. There's a chap whose name is Tom, but I forget his last name. I'll look that up and I'll put it in the description. So again, 3D printing has become a large interest of mine. It's also something that I've had to start doing at work, which is fantastic. I'd never even seen a 3D printer in person before I got this job that I have now, and now it's become one of my primary focuses. Again, I'm still a novice at it, as far as what some of these guys can do, but it is definitely becoming a bigger part of my life, and I'm going to be buying my own printer sometime in the future, and it'll be sitting on this desk, or I might get another one and have a bit more of a larger work area. So back to SW Dweeb's challenge. So yeah, it's called the 2019 Openers Open, and as I mentioned, it is a open challenge to anybody on YouTube to design and make their own bottle opener, and the purpose of it is just basically to allow anybody that has this kind of interest to join in and maybe get involved with something that involves bigger channels, maybe channels that they've been watching for a while. It didn't specify what type of or what style of craftsmanship you'd have to use. It could be any type. So again, I mentioned 3D printing, casting, blacksmithing. They're obviously quite obvious. You've also got machining, maybe even woodworking. You know, anything you can think of is completely viable. And this is going to be the video I'll be recording straight after this one, but I'll be going back to work for that, so you'll see a change in scenery. And I guarantee that there's probably going to be a bit of a failure video, because the way I wanted to actually make my opener is not open to me, and I've had to modify my plan. However, the design's not changed, and I don't think the design I have will work with the manufacturing system I'm going to be working with. So I'm going to be living up to what I said earlier and posting all the fail if this goes the way I expect it to. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Again, I don't know if anybody's going to be seeing this, but if you do, you know, if you want to subscribe and you want to see all the failure, but then hopefully a few successes, you know, feel free. If you've got any kind of questions, or if there's particular things you want to see, or if, because I'm new to this and talking to a camera is still a bit weird to me, if you've got some suggestions on where I can improve my delivery, feel free to post them. And yeah, just a couple of things that I'm going to mention right now. Yes, I know I've got a bit of a weird lispy thing going on with my S's, and yes, I am going bald. I have my family's genetics to thank for that. Not a lot I can do about it, I'm afraid. So let's get that out of the way, because I know that's going to be mentioned, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's just me. So yeah. Again, thanks for watching. Learn to embrace your failures, and maybe I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.